So today we'll be discussing a little bit of extended portion that is left out in your lipid metabolism. Specifically, you have fat biosynthesis, which we already discussed in the beginning of your lipid. It is in lipid one. Coming to storage of fats. So storage of fats and body. Pretty much straightforward. Fat is stored throughout your body in adipose tissue, in adipocytes, which are individual cells of your adipose tissue. This is a fatty tissue which will help in insulation, and it will help covering several visceral organs and help in protection as such, and it will help in serving as an energy source whenever someone is deprived of energy. If they are not able to eat, then in that condition this adipose tissue can be broken down so that you get triglycerides from them, and you can derive energy from basically making ATP out of those fatty acids in your cells, all right, through TCA and through various processes. Now, the number of fat cells that a person has is generally determined at their adolescence. Roughly speaking, at late adolescence, the total number of adipocytes that will be present in each individual, it will be different. For example, one person, so a man, let's suppose X person and Y person might have different number of fat cells, and it is specific to that person. Okay, there is no exact constant number, but in that person, once that number has been determined, it will not increase throughout their life. What will increase is their individual size. So adipocytes can individually increase in size rather than increase in number. So whenever someone is getting fatter, let's suppose, or someone is getting thinner, the size of those individual adipocytes will increase or decrease respectively, rather than their number increasing as such. Okay, now coming to role of liver in fat metabolism. So liver plays a very important role in metabolism of fat. It plays several roles actually. Now it is responsible, one, when we were discussing about lipoproteins, I told you that liver is responsible for the production of both HDL and LDL, and we've already went over their importance, how HDL is important and how LDL is important. HDL making sure that the serum fat levels and serum cholesterol levels are low, and LDL doing the exact opposite. Ideally you would want lower amounts of LDL and higher amounts of HDL. Now, liver cells will also help in breaking down fats by producing bile. So, when we went over the digestion and absorption of lipids, I told you that whenever there is food that is coming into your stomach and reaching your duodenum, bile is secreted as a response, and bile salts, along with the components of bile, will help in making micelles and emulsifying the fat that is present in your food. Once emulsion is formed, you'll be able to absorb it easily through the intestine. Okay, hence bile is very, very important. In turn, liver function is consolidated in the sense that without liver you will not have bile, and without bile you will not be able to absorb fat. So liver plays an important role in the absorption as well as in breakdown of fats. Now, hepatocytes, the individual units of your liver, are able to convert one form of fat to another. Okay, so your fatty acids will have several forms, or it can be converted from triglyceride to phospholipid to several different forms. That function is done by your hepatocytes. Whatever excess amounts of proteins and carbohydrates that you consume, more than what you require. So, let's suppose someone's maintenance calories are around 1500 uh, per day, 1500 kilocalories per day, and if they are eating 1600, 1700, generally what happens is, or if they are eating 2000, the excessive amount of fat, protein, and carbohydrates, even if it is carbohydrates and proteins, it will ultimately end up being converted into fats, and it will be stored for future usage, so that whenever the person is in starvation mode, or if they are fasting or something like that, that fat can be broken down to get energy. All right. Now, other than that, there is one particular component that can interfere with your hepatocytes' ability to convert, or rather than convert, I would say hepatocytes' ability to metabolize fat. That is alcohol. So, for example, if someone is consuming alcohol, let's suppose this is your hepatocyte. Okay, we draw it a little bit better. Let's suppose this is your hepatocyte, okay, with the nucleus here. Whenever alcohol is present in the around the hepatocyte, or whenever someone consumes alcohol, let's suppose this is alcohol that is present around the cell. All right, what ends up happening is there is no problem in the intake of nutrients. So proteins, carbohydrates, and all of them can easily come inside, but the problem will be their metabolized forms, the broken down parts of your nutrients that hepatocyte is processing will not be able to come out of your hepatocyte. What ends up happening is fat starts getting accumulated inside your hepatocyte, because of which your hepatocyte will literally swell. Okay, I'll repeat once again. What has happening in the presence of alcohol is disturbing the balance of nutrients in your liver. What it specifically does is, once nutrients are able to come inside, they will not be able to exit your hepatocyte. After being metabolized, after being processed, they will not be able to exit your hepatocyte, because of which what happens is fat starts getting accumulated inside your hepatocyte, and your hepatocyte will swell. So at one point of time your hepatocyte will look like this. It will become larger and it will swell. Okay, this particular condition, it will have a lot of fat present inside its cytosol, and during this process what happens is the nucleus is pushed to one side. Okay, rather than being in the center and at the bottom, generally nucleus is present down here. Okay, center and bottom. But in such a condition, what ends up happening is nucleus is pushed to the side because of the fat that is present. This particular condition is called steatosis. Okay, whenever fat gets accumulated in your hepatocyte and your liver altogether becomes fatty, that is called steatosis, and the swelling will be called hepatomegaly, where your liver is literally swelling in size. Your liver will also become palpable. At this point of time, if you are able to control the amount of alcohol, if you are making sure that the patient is not drinking any more alcohol, or if they have significantly reduced the amount of alcohol that they are consuming, liver, because of its profound regenerative capacity, because it can regenerate very very well and very fast, this can decrease. At one point of time, if you have decreased the amount of alcohol that you are consuming, your hepatocyte will go back to normal. But this can only happen if you are able to stop alcohol. Let's suppose someone is not stopping their alcohol intake and they keep on going for years together, so chronic alcohol abuse. In that condition, what happens is these hepatocytes will eventually die, and when they die there will be scarring on your liver. Okay, that stage where healing in your liver occurs through scarring, so fibrosis will occur and scars, large scars will be formed. Tissue gets degenerated and scars will be formed. That particular stage is called cirrhosis. Okay, once a liver goes into cirrhosis, you will not be able to get back its normal function, because cirrhosis is the tipping point. At that point, once patient's liver has entered cirrhosis, even if you stop alcohol completely, it will not work. Now again, the vertical duration in which someone can develop alcohol cirrhosis is very individualistic, in the sense that, let's suppose X person, there is X person and Y person. There are two people, and both of them are drinking the same amount of alcohol. Let's suppose both of them are drinking 500 ml of alcohol, hard alcohol, every day for the duration of around 6 years. Okay, I'm just giving a ballpark. For a long period of time they have been drinking a lot of alcohol, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. There is a chance that X might develop cirrhosis faster than Y, because X is more susceptible. Their liver was initially weaker or something like that. Okay, or it can be that Y will also develop cirrhosis, but it will take a little bit longer because their liver was initially healthier. Or it can also be a condition in which cirrhosis is developing faster than 6 years, considering if they drink, let's suppose, hard alcohol much more in quantity. So rather than drinking 500 ml, let's suppose 500 ml in a vertical in a week. Okay, I'm not telling in a day. 500 ml in a week, instead of consuming that much, let's suppose they are consuming 1 liter in a week. Okay, 1 to 2 liters in a week. That will accelerate the timeline, so they might get cirrhosis faster. Again, depends on the quality of alcohol, depends on the person's susceptibility, how well their immunity is, how well their liver is functioning initially before they started abusing their liver like this. All of that comes into play. Okay, ultimately, once fibrous scarring has started, see, till the point where cirrhosis has not occurred, if you stop drinking alcohol, your liver will recover. Once fibrous scarring starts and once cirrhosis starts, there is no going back. Your liver will only degenerate from there. If you drink more alcohol, it will degenerate even more. If you stop alcohol, your liver will stay in that condition. It will not heal, but it will at least not get damaged even more. Okay, so that was your role of liver in fat metabolism. I hope you understood this. If you have doubts, please let me know. Okay, so this completes our lipids. Now, for you, we did not complete one particular chapter, which was water and electrolyte balance. I'll try to finish that in this class, or else maybe it'll extend into the next class, but mostly 1 or 2 classes. It's not a lot of detail for you at least. So, coming to the next topic, which is water and electrolyte balance. Now, before we get into water and electrolyte balance, you have to understand what are the sources of water and what are the functions of water. Whenever I talk about water, uh, obviously it is one of the most important components of the human body, without which the human cannot survive. Now, physiological, when we talk about physiological functions of water, what functions does uh, water play in a person's body? It will provide as an aqueous medium for various biochemical reactions. So, inside your cell, outside your cell, almost everywhere in your body, 70% of your body is made up of water. In such a condition, a lot of metabolic processes that occur in your body, your TCA cycle, your whatever, those are metabolic reactions. They will require water as a medium. Without the presence of water, those reactions will not occur. Water also directly participates in several metabolic reactions, in the sense that water will actively participate as a constituent in these reactions. You have seen that in several of those reactions, water will either come inside in the presence of enolase, or it will what you call be extracted out, meaning water is actively participating in several metabolic reactions. It will also act as a vehicle for solute transport. So if I want to transport electrolytes, if I want to transport proteins, if I want to transport any nutrients, things like that, you will need water for it, right? Even if you take blood, your blood is mostly composed of water. It will be water, proteins, and a few other components, right? It is basically a mixture of water and a few proteins. In such a manner, you can understand the importance of water. It is also essential for elimination of waste products from your body, specifically urine, right? If you have a lot of waste products being accumulated in your body, they will be, some of them will be excreted out in the form of urine, and some of them in the form of feces. You will also have sweating and all, but one of the important ways through which water is excreting what do you call unnecessary waste products from your body is urination. Also, a little bit of water will be present in your feces, in your breath, and sweat is obviously made up of water. Along with that, water plays a very important role in regulating your body temperature. If someone is dehydrated, okay, there is a very good chance that their body temperature will fluctuate a lot. ठीक है. Improper imbalance in the amount of water in a person's body can fluctuate their body temperature, negatively affecting them. Okay, now coming to some properties of water, those were the physiological functions of water, so I'll just list them out. They include participates in metabolic reactions and acts as a medium for those reactions. Okay, that was one. Then acts as a vehicle, regulates body temperature, then it is responsible for elimination of waste products from the body. Okay, these are some of the important functions, physiological functions of your water. Then, other than this, what are the properties of water? Physical and chemical properties. So, your properties of water will include expansion on freezing and contraction. So, temperature variance. I'll just put temperature variance. Temperature variance means that it will vary in its state based on temperature. So for example, if I have temperature more than 0 degrees at 1 degree 2 degree, it will stay in a liquid form. And as soon as I freeze it, once I go below 0 degrees, and let's suppose I'm going to -10 -5 degrees, it will become frozen, and that water will be more what do you call, it will become less dense in a way. Okay, whichever substance which has decreased volume will have increased density as temperature decreases, but it is opposite with water. Okay, whenever you are freezing water, it will become less dense. That is why water floats on that is why ice floats on water. Okay, because ice is less dense than your water, that is why ice will start floating on water whenever you put. If you observe in summer or some other time, if you take an ice cube and put it in a glass of water, it will start floating on the top. That is because ice is less dense than water. And this is brought about by variance in temperature. If water is over 0 degrees centigrade, where it is in liquid form, it will be more dense, and if it is less than 0 degrees, it will be in ice form, which is less dense. Okay, water being more dense and ice being less dense. Then your water has high surface tension. Surface tension is basically, uh, how should I put it? Let's suppose you have a bucket of water, okay, and you gently try to put something light on top of it. So if it is light enough, it will start floating on the surface of water, not just because it is not able to what you call dip into water, but because of the surface tension of water. There is a particular tension on the surface of the water that will help certain substances to float on it, and it will help in maintaining the proper structure of water. That is the surface tension. Okay, the surface of a liquid, it will tend to contract as much as possible, exhibiting tension on its surface. Water has one of the highest surface tensions known in any liquid, that is 72.8. So it basically means that if you want to solubilize water, or if you want to mix something in water, you'll have to add such a substance. I'm not just telling dipping it in water, I'm telling completely combining it in the form of a solution in water. You'll have to decrease the surface tension. That is why for example, if you are trying to wash clothes and things like that, if you're trying to remove grease or some dirt, you'll have to use a particular component like soap. Soap is something that is a detergent that will decrease surface tension of water, and it will help in cleaning those what do you call dirt stains or whatever it is. Okay, so there is that. High surface tension, it has high heat capacity. So it has pretty high heat capacity in the sense that water will maintain temperature more successfully than other substances, in the sense that if you heat up water, it will stay hot for a very long period of time compared to several other liquids. Some other liquids tend to cool down much more quickly. Water tends to retain its heat for a longer period of time. Generally, if you boil water, it will stay hot for a longer period of time than other liquids. Okay, so those were some of the important properties of your water. Now, coming to sources of water, water sources can be both endogenous and exogenous. There are two main sources of water. Okay, sources of water. This is a relatively easy topic. If you read it once in the textbook, it will be, you'll very easily be able to memorize it. It's mostly like general knowledge kind of thing. Exogenous and endogenous water. Exogenous water. Okay. The difference between exogenous and endogenous water is that exogenous water comes from external sources. Okay, water from external sources, in the sense that the water that you drink, literally directly water that you drink, and fruits that you eat and food that you eat, those contain some amount of water. Obviously you will have some fruits and some vegetables which are more rich in water than compared to others. For example, your watermelon will be more rich in water than an apple, things like that. But both of them are sources for exogenous water, that is something that you are getting from outside rather than what you are producing from inside. Your endogenous water source will be something which you are producing internally. So water from internal sources. Internal sources means water that is produced from metabolism of nutrients. So whenever you eat and you break down carbohydrates and you break down fats, in the process the amount of water that you are getting through different metabolic processes, that will be endogenous water. Generally endogenous water will be around 300 ml per day. That much amount of endogenous water is being made in your body. Exogenous water can vary. So normally speaking, one person should drink at least 2 to 3 liters per day. Okay, 2 to 3 liters of water per day, just water drinking. But you will have other sources as well. As I told you, food can also act as a source of water. And again, in some areas, for example, if someone is living in a very hot region, uh, in a desert or things like that, they will tend to drink a lot more water when compared to someone who is living in colder climates. So if someone is living in Kashmir, or someone who's living in a very cold place, they will not tend to drink as much water when compared to someone who's living in, let's suppose, Sahara desert, or someone who's living in Rajasthan. Okay, they tend to drink a lot more water. Now based on what do you call, the amount of water that is coming in and going out, there is a fine balance that is maintained, which is called water turnover and water balance. Okay, so okay, before getting into that, I'll tell you how your total fluid in your body is what do you call, counted. The total amount of fluid that is present in your body, so I'll just represent it as T. This is around 42 liters. So let's suppose I take a human and I wring them out like a cloth. So after washing, you wring your clothes, right, to remove water from it. You twist your clothes, and you twist your clothes in a bit to basically remove as much water as you can before you dry them on some wire or something like that, wire or rope, or you put it in the heater. Either way, that the amount of water that comes out of a human, that will be 42 liters. So 42 liters will be the total amount of fluid that is present in a person's body. Now this is divided into two major forms. There is intracellular water and there is extracellular water. Okay, intracellular water is the water that is present inside a cell. Okay, your cytoplasm, basically your cytoplasm and your cytosol. If you take a cell, whatever is present inside here, that will be intracellular water. Okay, so you have several trillions of cells. In each of those cells there is a little amount of cytosol that is present, and the major component of that cytosol is water. So that contributes to the intracellular fluid that is present in your body. Generally intracellular fluid is abbreviated with ICF. Okay, so intracellular fluid will be around 28 liters. So out of 42 liters, your intracellular fluid will account for 28 liters. Okay, and so for example, if I take this as 100%, okay, this will be around 70% or so, a little under 70%, 60-ish%. Okay, let's keep it simpler. This is intracellular water. Then extracellular water, which is ECF, is all the fluid that is present outside your cell. So total fluid will be 42 liters. That can be divided into water that is present inside your cell and water that is present outside your cell. The water that is present inside the cells is called intracellular fluid. It can be any cell. It can be hepatocyte, it can be adipocyte, it can be skeletal muscle, whatever type of cell you take. Okay, that is ICF, which will come around 28 liters. This is an average estimate. Okay, then you have extracellular fluid. This is all the fluid that is present outside your cell. Now this again will have two different categories. You have interstitial fluid So there is something called interstitial fluid. This is the fluid that is present in between your cells. So if I take any tissue, let's suppose I take a tissue like this, patch of tissue, and let's suppose it has several cells like this. Whatever fluid that you find in between these cells, okay, you will be able to find some fluid in between these cells like this. That fluid will be called interstitial fluid. Okay, that will help in how should I put it, that will help in exchange of enzymes, and that will help in exchange of nutrients and all of that. Generally your capillaries will open into such what do you call into interstitial fluid, and it will what do you call your whatever your blood will literally transfer nutrients from it into the interstitial fluid, so that from your interstitial fluid those nutrients can go into your cell. The blood innervation will not directly occur into your cell, so there will not be capillaries that are going directly into your cell. What you will have though is interstitial fluid, through which it is a medium through which nutrients and other things can be conveyed. In the same way, let's suppose your cell is undergoing respiration and it is taking oxygen in, it will obviously send out carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide that the cell is breathing out or the cell is respiring out, that that carbon dioxide also will get absorbed into your interstitial fluid, through which it can get inside your veins. Okay, veins or venules, so that it can go into deoxygenated blood and get oxygenated. So that is interstitial fluid. Interstitial fluid amounts to around 10.5 liters in your body. Okay. So if I take 42 liters minus what do you call 28 liters, you will have 14 liters left, right? 42 minus 28 is 14. Out of 14 liters, 10.5 liters will be interstitial fluid. Just it is, this is looking like 11. Yeah, 10.5 liters will be interstitial fluid. The rest of it will be present in plasma. Okay, so your plasma also has a lot of fluid. Okay, plasma present in your blood. This plasma will contain the rest of that fluid. So 14 minus 10.5 will be 3.5. This is how the total water in your body is divided. Firstly, it is present, most of it is present inside the cell. A little amount is present outside your cells. In that as well, you will have tissue, water that is present in between the cells, and water that is present in your blood vessels or in the vessels. The one that is present in between your cells is called interstitial. The one that is present inside your cell is called intracellular. Please be careful, don't confuse in between them. Intracellular and interstitial. This interstitial fluid is also sometimes called intercellular, in between cells. Okay, this is intra, this is inter. Intra is present inside the cell, inter is present in between cells. And you have plasma. Plasma is something that is making up a major component of your blood. All right, so this is about water a little bit. We'll do water turnover and water balance tomorrow. Okay, how water is taken in and how water is output occurs. Right. Hope you understood this class.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Please feel free to ask doubts if you're not
Yes,
understanding.
sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, just the two of you know, right? Reshma and Ratama.
Yes, sir.